I don't usually make videos like this. In fact, I don't usually make videos at all. But when I came across this information, I felt that it would be both morally and socially negligent not to try to spread it, because not many people are talking about this, and it's a really big deal. There has something that has just come out from the Oval Office called the NSPM-7. And what that means is the National Security Presidential Memorandum, 7th of the term. These are a pretty big deal. These are not executive orders, and these are not laws. They're broad directives that are meant to inform the various branches of internal security keeping measures we have in the United States, such as the FBI, joint task forces between the NYPD and the FBI, all of the counterterrorism units, to now be on alert that there are some new indicators of what is considered precursors to political violence and terrorism in the United States. And the official title of this is Countering Domestic Terrorism and Organized Political Violence. So I'm going to list off 10 indicators for you that are now considered to be reasons that the government can suppose that you're a terrorist. And that accounts for groups, organizations, individuals, and entities. And these can be the reason for arrest, detainment, relocation, and other sad fates, preemptively, meaning before any wrongdoing is detected, okay? Anti-Americanism. Seems awfully broad, doesn't it? What is an anti-Americanism? Well, according to the Oxford Language Dictionary, it is hostility to the interests of the United States. According to Wikipedia, anti-Americanism, also called anti-American sentiment and Americanophobia, is a term that can describe several sentiments and positions, including opposition to, fear of, distrust of, prejudice against, or hatred towards the United States, its government, its foreign policy, or Americans in general. Yikes. Okay, so opposition to, fear of, distrust of the United States government. Don't agree with the Trump administration? Well, you're now a terrorist. Imagine that. The next on the list is anti-capitalism. And though we've already been through a Red Scare and saw how that worked out, they wouldn't do it again. But it's not even just anti-communist sentiment. If you're a social democrat like Bernie Sanders, well, that's anti-capitalist to some degree. If you believe that the wealthy should be taxed, that is inherently anti-capitalist. If you believe that companies should be paying their employees more, that the minimum wage should be raised, these are all anti-capitalist sentiments. Oh, you're now a terrorist. Anti-Christianity. Are you a Muslim? Are you a Hindu? Are you Jewish? Are you an atheist? Well, technically, you're anti-Christian, at least by their definition. You're now a terrorist. Welcome to the club. Support for the overthrow of the United States government. This one is particularly rich since Jefferson Davis, the person who came closest to that, was the sitting president currently, Donald Trump. Extremism on migration. This one is particularly wild. Let's imagine what they mean before we think about the reality. What they mean is if you think that people should be given due process before being unlawfully deported, in some cases to countries they're not even from, well, that's an extremist stance in this time. If you believe that, well, you're a terrorist. Welcome to the club. The wildest part is that the largest amount of extremism I've ever seen on migration is that of the current administration's stance on it, which is, hey, just categorically get out. Doesn't matter where you go. We're going to send you to concentration camps in El Salvador by merit of you simply existing in this physical location. That is the most extreme stance on migration on planet Earth, I'm pretty sure. Next up, we have extremism on race. Do you think critical race theory should have been taught in schools? You're a terrorist. Do you think that slavery was bad and we should talk about that and try to find ways to undo its effects? Well, you're a terrorist. Extremism on gender. Well, we always knew that if you were trans, you're obviously a terrorist. That goes without saying, doesn't it? Do you believe that traditional gender roles should not be enforced on people against their will? Do you think that gender is a spectrum, like all psychologists and biologists? Well, you're a terrorist. Let's look at the next one. Hostility towards those who hold traditional views on family. Okay, traditional views on family. From when? From 1990? From 1970? From 1940? Maybe it's from 1740. There's no way to know. That's the point. Hostility towards those who hold traditional views on religion. And the next one is hostility towards those who hold traditional views on morality. To me, these go hand in hand. There's a bit of a Venn diagram here happening. There are things which apply strictly to religion and strictly to morality. However, as we know, these people claim that their morality is derived from their religion. This is obviously not true because they do not follow the tenets of their own religion, and they certainly do a lot of things which their religion forbids. So it's very performative for them. Nonetheless, we have to deal with it. Are you an atheist? Well, that is the same thing as a terrorist. Let's go through them one more time. Anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, anti-Christianity, support for the overthrow of the United States government, extremism on migration, extremism on race, extremism on gender, hostility towards those who hold traditional views on family, religion, or morality. Now, if anyone listening to this does not fully understand the implications of what I've just said, allow me to explain. This enables a tremendous amount of extrajudicial behavior to anyone who does not conform to a very narrow set of characteristics and ideologies. Seems so familiar, this concept. I just can't place it. Now, the executive branch isn't capable of creating laws. Only the legislative branch can do that. That's Congress. And of course, this only matters if you are beholden to the law in the first place, which does not apply to the Trump administration, who regularly breaks laws. So if the government wanted to accuse you of some illegal behavior, typically it would rely on a court to decide if you have done wrong and what should be the consequences of that wrongdoing. That said, this is not a law. It's rather a broad stance, a directive that various agencies have been instructed to take, and it means that the judicial system can be, or at least will be, circumvented, as has been happening to immigrants and people merely accused of being immigrants, to those with and without legal statuses indiscriminately for many months now. This allows for holding citizens indefinitely without charge, for example, and if anyone notices and makes a stink, well, it's anti-terrorist activity, and it's classified. If the indicators I described to you seem vague, too vague for you to even understand if you fall into any of these categories, or if some action or thought you have may fit into these categories, you should understand that this is intentional. It leaves room for very loose interpretation and the ability to retroactively justify actions of political violence perpetrated by the executive branch. This was always the logical follow-up to our loss of freedom of speech. Tell your friends.